All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to this wonderful occasion. If you're in the back and you want to move up, if you want to cheer the reporters or boo them, that will be, we'll get to that part later on. But welcome to everybody for the release of this fantastic, important novel, The Murder Plague. This is an amazing novel. This is an amazing opportunity. This is an amazing writer. This writer is so incredibly important. He's covered space and he's covered politics. And what do they have in common? Emptiness, darkness. But he's covered them all. In fact, he is the only American journalist in our time who was locked in a closet by Joe Biden. So that's a very important thing to know about this man. He's asked important questions to people who are trying to hide the answers. And that's why this novel is so important. He's asking questions like, why? How come? What for? And those are all critical questions for our day. There's no doubt about it. This book is so important. This book will change the face of Western civilization. This book will save humankind. That's why Ron DeSantis can't wait to ban it. What is this gallery? This is terrible. Who are these losers? Who are these losers? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the man of the hour. He's become so important, so iconic, he needs 3 names. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wizard of Words, the king of the keyboard, the prose of prose. And if you went to a Florida public school, it's P-R-O-S-E. Just wanted to let you know that. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Michael Powers.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. It's almost impossible to top that act, I would think, at this point. I appreciate everybody coming here today, and I want to say some special thanks to some people that have been involved in this from the start. My wife Connie, who is my closest advisor on everything, and the one that keeps me going as I want to give up and need faith to move on. A number of you out there have helped me with various drafts of this book, and I want to thank you in particular. You're written up inside the acknowledgments, so I'm not going to name you all by name, but you're in there. Judy Tracy, who's not here, took the picture that accompanies the book, and I want to thank her for that. Let her know that I appreciate that very much. Of course, Devaney's here, Mike and Tim, and those behind the bar. Not only do we need to give them a great round of applause and raise a drink to them, but tip. I don't know, but I've been told that people who tip well get into heaven. So keep that in mind as you go forward here, and make sure you thank them for this great venue. I started this book several years ago, and it went through several different drafts that radically changed it over time. And then the pandemic came along and changed everything for all of us. And this became more of a book about dealing with a pandemic than dealing with mass murder. But ultimately, it's about both. And I hope it's a book people enjoy reading. Although I hope it's also a bit scary, because it deals with 2 of the great fears of the 21st century, which are mass murder and pandemics, brought together here. I hope with a little bit of dignity and a fun read. It went through a number of hands until finally we got it the right publisher, Black Rose Writing out of Texas, and they are publishing it next Thursday, February 8th is the official launch date. You all got copies here, and I hope you enjoy it, the very first copies that have come out. And the rest of the world will get their chance starting next week, and who knows after that. There are a few other writers in this room, and quite a few that are colleagues of mine from journalism, but also a few that have written novels. Dana Summers over there, and Mike Snyder, and a couple of others that are in here, and I'm sorry I'm drawing a blank at the moment. Ken Pelham has written several books that have just been very, very terrific and actually affected me a great deal. so want to acknowledge them and tell you what they already know, which is this is really a lot of work. And I'm so glad you all came out to help me celebrate it, because there's a very good chance that my dearest hope is going to be just to break even on expenses. Most writers don't go out there and make lots of money off their books, but hope that people read them and enjoy them, and that's where I'm going with this. Basically what the book is about, briefly, is it's set here in Orlando. There is an accident at a medical research facility down in Lake Nona, and this causes the release of a genetically engineered virus that nobody knows anything about. And ultimately this virus becomes quite nasty, it spreads quickly, it attacks the brain, it causes people to go into psychotic rages and kill people, until all of a sudden everybody you meet might be trying to kill you, and if they're not, they might be infecting you to become the next killer. Out of all of this emerge a couple of heroes, Kenitha Wilson and Mike Andrusik in particular, Marty Francisco also, and it's basically them against everybody else in the post-COVID world to try and figure out how to stop this virus before it spreads too far. I hope you guys enjoy it, and with that we will take some questions here. Mark, you want to help me out with these guys?
Scott Michael.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wait a minute, hold on. Here are the ground. There are ground rules to this. The first ground, no shenanigans. Any shenanigan, you get one shenanigan. You get called out. 2 shenanigans, you get thrown out. Unless you're Irish, because they probably let you back in. All right? So, there's just no shenanigans. Got it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Scott Michael. What was your biggest obstacle as you approached publishers with with your idea and your story?
It was difficult to convince people that a book about mass murder and plagues could actually be a fun read, I think. And so that was my goal here, and I think hopefully we've pulled that off.
Next dumb question.
Mr. Powers, when did you start using your middle name and why?
When did you start using your middle name and why?
Back when I was a journalist, I discovered that there were 2 other Scott Powerses that were journalists that worked for my company. And after we got enough emails switched back and forth between the rest of us, we decided that one of us would become Scott Michael Powers, one of us would become Scott, whatever the hell his middle name was, Powers, and the other one we didn't care about because he was kind of a jerk.
So why didn't you pick another middle name?
I like Michael.
Okay. Next question.
You put this thing in Orlando. Do you hate Orlando? Is that why you want all these
You
people
put
to be
this thing in
killed?
Orlando. What you got against Orlando, dude?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'll tell you, when the actual COVID-19 pandemic began, and I want to drop a name here because I can do that, March of 2020, I'm at this press conference with Jerry Demings and all his staff, and they're all worried about this COVID epidemic that's beginning to leak out and break out. Nobody's quite sure what it is or what to do about it and whatnot. And he was explaining what the county was doing. And I asked him the question, are you worried at all that with Orlando being a world tourism site, that from here it could spread worldwide? And I swear I saw outright panic in his eyes for about 2 seconds before he changed the subject.
And so you enjoyed that.
I did. That's what I live for.
Next question.
For your heroes in
Yeah.
your story,
Yes.
who did you have in mind? Who are they based on? And what did you
Who are
draw
the
from?
heroes based on?
You know, first of all, I want to say that there are a couple of characters in this book that are very specifically based on people that I know. They weren't the
Anybody
main.
in this room?
No, and they weren't the main characters. And what I did with those particular 2 characters that I have in mind was I caused them to die really painful deaths. Now, they may,
Call them out.
well, I won't give them by names, but hopefully they'll read the book and they might recognize themselves and realize that I wanted them to die very painful deaths.
So how many drinks do we have to buy you before you can buy?
Who are the editors? Who are the editors?
No comment.
How many publishers or editors?
No comment on that one. But the main characters in this book are, I would say, Kenitha Wilson and Marty Francisco and Mike Andrusik, and I don't think they were maybe conglomerates of people that I've known over the years, but nobody specific in any of those cases.
So why Italian names?
I had no Italians in this book this time. Yes.
One of your main characters is a black woman. You're a white guy. How do you do that?
The question is, my main
It's a
character.
stupid question.
No, it's a great question. That's a great question. Kenitha Wilson is a black woman, and she is probably the main character of the book. And how did I follow her? You know what? I followed her. When I first created Kenitha in the second chapter, actually, I didn't expect her to become the main character of the book. She just took over. She was a force of nature, and before I realized that I had to make her the main character because she was the only one doing anything. and so it worked out from there.
How many people actually die in this book?
How many people died?
Millions on the overall, but specifically people that you watch die, probably no more than 60 or 70.
Hey Scott, I got a question.
All right, we got a question online from an online reporter.
Were you turned down by any of the mainstream publishing houses? And did any of them tell you the story of the plot was too dark?
That's none of your business.
Yes, I was turned
You want to
down.
know how it get turned down? This is a happy day. This
I
is
was-
a happy occasion. Why
I
do we
was
have
turned
that many
down.
questions
I
like
was
that?
turned down by all the main publishing houses, and fortunately, none of them are intimate enough to actually send you a personal letter. So all of their letters were written by AI.
You were not turned down, just delayed.
That's right. They're sorry now, sir.
Even though he was convicted last week of insider trading and not mass murder, do you not feel some satisfaction with the fact that Joe Lewis, the founder of Lake Nona, has been held accountable for at least something involving his development?
He has a part in my book, but I won't comment on that any further than that.
Anybody else?
What kind of research did you do on plagues?
I did as much research as I could online, and then I also sent out for several books that I actually read. One book that I read was on pandemics, and it was pre-COVID. This was back in probably 2018 or 2019. In one order, I ordered books on plagues, I ordered books on genetic engineering, and I ordered books on the maintenance and operation of a public water system. So I was fully expecting the FBI to show up at my door and wanting to know about this, but they never showed up, so I got away with it, at least at this point.
This is your second book, you said?
Yes, the first book has to do with a UFO mystery and kind of the X-Files meets rock and roll.
How many people died?
There were only a couple of people that I killed off in that book, well, maybe 3 or 4 tops.
So there wasn't a plague that the UFO brought?
No, but that's kind of been done, you know,
Yeah.
so I figured I couldn't do that.
Mr.
Yes.
Yes.
So what are your plans for the future? What kind of topics? Because of all the research you've been doing, you must have a bunch of ideas.
That's the best question tonight. You guys should be embarrassed.
I have a third novel already written in first draft, and it's about journalism. It's about a small weekly newspaper on the Space Coast and how they stumble onto a international conspiracy. So that'll be the next one up. We'll talk about that as it gets closer.
Can we
Are
guess
we
that people
UFOs?
will be killed in that book?
Oh, it starts with 6 dead bodies on the first page.
So how many editors do you need to kill off yet?
Well, let's see, 1, 2. No, we're good on that.
Maybe another
Scott,
planet.
are you concerned because this is kind of a dark book that the Moms for Liberty and other conservative groups are going to think that younger readers shouldn't get near a book like this?
I'm actually hoping to get banned. You know, as I look at the list of banned books and banned authors out there, I would be thrilled to be mentioned in the same sentence as many of them. Not all of them. There's a couple of them on there that I don't particularly like either.
Are you concerned at all about putting ideas in the heads of the lunatic fringe?
Actually, I borrowed all of these ideas from the Lunatic Fringe, so they're already out there. I mean, I've invented a couple of new ways to kill people. I've got somebody that's killed when somebody throws rat poison on their face. You don't see that too often in real life, but other than that, it's your garden varieties, shootings and stabbings and running people over with cars and, you know, setting people on fire and blowing people up, you know, that kind of thing. It's all already getting done.
So, given all your research, Scott, for the book, with science and so forth, is it fair to say that your heroes are scientists, or who are your?
I do like scientists. Yeah, there's one hero. There's one hero who is a scientist. There's one scientist who is a villain. There is one hero who is who works at a dairy. There's one hero who's a police officer. There's another villain who's a police officer. There's a hero who's a prostitute, and she's also kind of a villain.
Who will play the characters, the heroes, if it makes it to the big screen or the little screen, as it were?
Actor heroes.
Yeah, the question is when it makes it to the big screen, not if it makes it to the big screen. Well, for Dr. Andrusik, I am told by my wife that it needs to be Matthew McConaughey. He might be a little old, but maybe if he was, you know, a younger Matthew McConaughey, he would be good. Kanitha would probably be somebody. You know, the actress that I have in mind actually is Danae Benton. You might not know her. She was in The Gilded Age recently. She's done a lot of Broadway work. But a couple of things I like about Danae is, first of all, she's from Orlando. She's from right around here, and I always like to keep local people in mind. I also kind of liked her speech at the Tony Awards last month, but we'll leave it at that. And then for Marty Francisco, maybe somebody like Benicio del Toro, who's been in a few movies in Traffic. He won the Academy Award for that. That guy's got to be somebody who is simultaneously sensitive and scary as hell, and that would probably work for him.
What's the cautionary tale from this? What are the takeaways?
You know, make sure you have a good, comfortable place to read in, and don't read too late at night. And if you've got a gun, make sure it's locked up safely.
Hey, are you concerned about, you know, since we had the Pulse nightclub murders here several years ago, are you concerned about any backlash from them? I mean, the community was certainly traumatized.
You know, that's a great question, because you know, we live in a community where mass murder is a real thing, not just an imaginary thing. And the whole time I was writing this book, I had in mind how to deal with people who have lived through this kind of trauma, this kind of pain, and this kind of terror. And I know some, and I know many people in this community know some, and we've all in this community been touched by what happened at Pulse. But on the other hand, I think there are lessons that come out of that need to be talked about, and this book talks about them. And I think, you know, as we look now and see how unfortunately screwed up the Pulse memorial movement had become in the last year or two, we need to find ways to reconsider what happened there and how we deal with it as a community, and I hope we do.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
Any final words? Mr. Scott Michael Powers?
If you do buy the book, please leave me a review on Amazon, because Amazon promotes books that get a lot of reviews and drop books that don't get a lot of reviews, so that helps. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And once again, tip your waiter, tip your bartender tonight, and have a good time.
Thank you, Scott.